Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Mintle. Hey, thanks for listening to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. Faith radio podcasts are only possible because of your support. Thanks for giving and for sharing with a friend.
Doing life together, reaching out with hope, encouraging one another, each step along the road. You and I can make everything a little better, doing life together.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Linda Mintle, the relationship doctor, and I'm here along with my co-host, the other Dr. Mintle, my husband, Norm. And every weekend, we're here, we're doing life together, and as always, we're so glad you've joined us.
I agree. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you could join us. This weekend especially, we're commemorating Memorial Day. For many people, Linda, this is just a weekend for day off, extra day off, backyard grilling and picnics. But it's so much more than that, more than just getting off work and enjoying the weather. While there's nothing wrong with that, we do that. We also want to remember the true reason for the holiday.
That's right, Norm. And Memorial Day is one of those that we don't talk a lot about.
No, we don't.
You don't hear it. People are getting together, they're picnicking, they're having a great time, but it's when we honor those who have died while defending our country. I lost a brother who was an Army officer to a terrorist bomb. He left a wife, a 2-year-old, and a child on the way. And we know that he died serving his country, but that doesn't make it any easier.
No.
And I still miss him terribly after all these years.
Right. And I don't think people understand that. Think about it. We put flags up, and I don't think people even understand why the flags are up. And now for you, living away from your family home has made it impossible to continuously go and visit his graveside.
Yeah, and I think those rituals are really important because they're solemn. You go, you stand, you think, you pray, you remember, you think about them. And my parents, who have also gone to be with the Lord, always took us to the military part of the cemetery to decorate the graves. It was a sobering time. You see all those white crosses, and it's a real sobering time to remember the great sacrifice that so many families made to secure our freedom.
And then for many, many years, you and I lived in a military town, and we were acutely aware of all the families in our church and our neighborhoods who had lost loved ones in military conflicts. Their sacrifices for our freedom need to be honored and remembered. So thank you. We say thank you to all of you who are families who have experienced the tremendous sacrifice of a lost loved one and helped secure our freedom. Thank you.
And in our church, because we were in a military town, when they would ask for people to stand up, there were a lot of people.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
there were a lot of people. So,
Right.
To do this, to really give it some, meat behind the holiday here, let's just talk a little bit about the history of Memorial Day.
Oh, good. I love history.
I know you do. You do. So you can start us
All
with
right,
the
I'll
history of
start.
Memorial Day.
The holiday began in 1868 when
Wow.
General John A. Logan, he was a general in the Union Army, declared a day to decorate the graves of fallen Civil War soldiers. He originally called it Decoration Day.
I think I remember hearing that in history, actually. 20 years later, though, the name changed to Memorial Day. And on May 11th, 1950, Congress passed a resolution requesting that the president issue a proclamation calling on Americans to observe each Memorial Day as a day of prayer for permanent peace and designating a period on that day when the people of the United States might unite in prayer.
Wow, I think we lost that one a long time ago.
That's a great thing to do.
Right. But it wasn't until 1971 when President Richard Nixon declared Memorial Day a federal holiday. Now, Memorial Day is observed on the last Monday of May every year, of course, and that's this weekend. So, as an occasion to honor the men and women who died in all wars, that's what we're doing this weekend on this program. And I wonder how many people actually use this day to pray for peace, as it was originally intended.
Well, let's call our audience to
That's
do
right.
that, to pray
Let's
for
do
peace.
it.
We certainly need peace in the world today. There's so much conflict
Right.
in the world today.
Let's do it on Monday.
Yeah, we know that Americans are honored on this day, and we do it in several ways. We're going to give you lots of tips here on what you can do. I talked about going to our family grave and putting flowers on. A lot of people do that. They go out there. When you go to the cemetery on Memorial Day, you see a lot of families in the cemetery. Now that I live so far away, I can't do that, but I still think about how families are doing that all over the country.
Right. Usually we see the president or the vice president carrying a big, huge wreath at Arlington National Cemetery up to the Tomb of the Unknowns. They've changed the name. It used to be Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Now it's
I
the
didn't
Tomb of the Unknowns.
When did that change?
I
I don't know. Okay.
don't know, but recently.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of names have changed recently, right? For all kinds of reasons. All right. Well, and there's another tradition that grew out of a poem years ago.
Right. In 1915, going back a bit, a woman named Moina Michael was inspired by a poem she read called In Flanders Field, which is a pretty famous poem. And as a result, she wrote her own poem, and here's a bit of it. She said, "We cherish, too, the poppy red that grows in fields where valor led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies."
And out of that poem, because of that poppy reference, she decided to wear red poppies on Memorial Day as a sign of honor to those who died serving the nation in war. So she sold poppies to her coworkers, her friends, and she gave the money to benefit needy servicemen. And then later in 1922, the Veterans of Foreign Wars became the first veteran organization to sell poppies nationally.
I remember as a child seeing those little red plastic flowers on people's lapels, not having any clue that they were a poppy, much less what they meant.
Yeah, well, my dad told me what they were.
Well,
'Cause
sure.
He's a veteran.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Then in 1948, the post office honored her for her role in establishing the national poppy movement with a red 3-cent postage stamp. When was the last time we saw that? 1948.
And then in 1986, President Reagan gave one of his famous speeches on Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery. Listen to this excerpt because I really liked it. So he said, "Today is the day we put aside to remember fallen heroes and to pray that no heroes will ever have to die for us again. It's a day of thanks for the valor of others, a day to remember the splendor of America and those of her children who rest in this cemetery and others. It's a day to be with the family and remember."
That's really nice. He was quite eloquent, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Peggy Noonan.
Why? What does she do?
She was one of his primary speechwriters.
Oh, speechwriter. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, now that we've covered a little bit of history about Memorial Day, isn't there also a well-known car race that happens on this week?
There is.
You've probably heard about it. It's called the Indianapolis 500, which has been run in conjunction with the holiday since 1911.
Oh.
Actually, it's run on the Sunday preceding the actual federal holiday.
Yeah, I'm not really a car racing fan, despite our children seem to be getting interested in this Formula One thing.
Oh, they are.
But it doesn't matter. In fact, you and I are actually going to a wedding this holiday weekend.
Yeah, we are. But we'll still be thinking about the day.
Yes.
So let's talk about some other ways to honor fallen people on this Memorial weekend.
Okay, so let's look at how you can just make this very intentional in your family. The easiest way to do that, Norm, would be just explain the significance of the day to your children. Just make sure that they know that this isn't just a day off to have a barbecue or go to the lake, that it really is all about honoring people who have fallen in service of our country.
For many kids, this is when the community swimming pool opens this weekend.
I know. I know, that's true. And we talked about visiting the grave, so we've said a lot about that. What about giving a donation to a veterans charity like the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund?
Wow, that's a great idea. Or fly the U.S. flag. I need to explain this one a little bit. A lot of people put the flag at half staff on Memorial Day. But the truth is, the tradition is only until noon, because the Stars and Stripes only flies half staff for the first half of the day, and then it's raised to full height till sundown. Why? Because we honored the war dead for the morning and the living veterans for the rest of the day.
Oh.
Isn't that cool? In 1924, Congress codified the tradition with a proclamation that said, "The nation lives," and the flag is a symbol of illumination, explaining that the noon flag raising symbolizes our persistence despite loss.
Oh, I had no idea. I think
Pretty cool.
people just put them out and they don't.
I think so too. They don't pay attention.
So you can visit a monument or a war museum. this is the one I really like. You can participate in a national moment of remembrance at 3:00 local time.
What's the moment of remembrance?
So this is the history behind that. To ensure the sacrifices of America's fallen heroes are never forgotten, in December of 2000, the U.S. Congress passed and the president signed into law the National Moment of Remembrance Act. The commission's charter is to encourage the people of the United States to give something back to their country, which provides them so much freedom and opportunity, by encouraging and coordinating this time period where everybody will remember. So we're supposed to pause at 3 p.m. local time on Memorial Day for a minute of silence to remember and honor those who have died in the service of the nation. The Moment of Remembrance founder, Camilla Laspada, hopes that this is a way we can all help put the memorial back in Memorial Day.
I like that. Well, we called for people to pray on that day. This is a perfect way to do it. If you think about it, set your alarm on your phone for 3:00 on Monday.
Yeah.
And then spend a minute doing that. You could attend a parade or a religious service that honors our fallen soldiers. Many cities and towns have those.
Yeah, and you can send a note of thanks to families who have lost loved ones in the military, or you could offer to help with a household project or help with a special need that they have. You can also sponsor a thank you bouquet through the National Memorial Day Foundation. You can dedicate your bouquet to a fallen soldier.
You can go to www.Memorial Day Foundation, all one word, memorialdayfoundation.org.
And, Norm, you can ask your school to be involved in the Adopt a Grave program. And the school takes care of a fallen soldier's grave by keeping it clean and placing flowers on it.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. And then we've been talking about pray for God's blessing on America. Ask for God's protection over all the branches of our military. So take moments and pray for those who are still in harm's way and are still defending our freedom.
We all know someone.
Yes.
So that's a good idea. Well, those were some good ideas to help honor the fallen. Now let's talk more about how we can help people who are grieving and remembering their family members and their losses. More about that right after this short break.
Is every spare minute of your life filled with some activity, event, or demand? If so, you could be suffering from a very common American disease. It's called overcommitment, and it has seeped into every area of our lives. I'm Dr. Linda, the relationship doctor, and yes, I'll admit it, I've fallen prey to overcommitment in my life just like I imagine you have. Saying no occasionally is the best defense against overcommitment. But if it's too late and you're already overcommitted, here's a little tip to help you make it through. In the busiest days, you can still stop and take 5, just for yourself. When your heart is racing and your thoughts are whirling inside your head, your effectiveness just plummets. But if you'll pause right in the middle of all the hubbub, maybe close your eyes, breathe deeply, and remind yourself that the current task will be completed, you'll feel an immediate sense of relief. Then you can head back into the job at hand with renewed focus and energy. And when the next chance comes to overcommit, it comes your way, you can work on your priorities by just saying, hey, no.
Welcome back to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. Our program today is Memorial Day, a time to remember, and we have so much more to talk about with you. But before we move on, let me remind you to check out Dr. Linda's website, drlindamintle.com. There you will find her blogs, her books. You can connect with her on social media. And we remind you can listen to the podcast anytime on your favorite podcast platform, or you can go to myfaithradio.com.
And this might be a good one to go and look at the blog, especially on the myfaithradio.com. The blog is right there with the show. And then you can go through my website as well. But if you're forgetting all those things that we talked about that you can do,
right,
it's all there.
Right.
So you can look at the blog, you can look at the websites. It'll give you links to go. I just think it's really important to do something on that day to honor the people who have served our country.
And I think this particular program is particularly good to share with someone who is involved in Memorial Day or loss or feelings of loss. You know, in just a moment, sometimes it just takes a moment for our lives to be changed forever when loss happens. And people need support and care. How do we mourn with those who mourn, as the Bible tells us to?
Yeah, it's one of the Beatitudes, isn't it? What Jesus talked about. Well, in all honesty, I mean, without my family's deeply held faith in God, I'm just not sure that we would have ever come out of my brother's death on the other side in any kind of intact way. So having like-minded people of faith with us was so important, Norm. It's not necessarily always their words, but just their presence and the idea that you're bringing in the Holy Spirit into that place. And the Holy Spirit's a comforter.
Sure.
So to be comforted by God with people praying, people being with you, bringing that aspect into the equation is just so important, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I've been in a situation, and I know many people have, where friends and family struggle to know what to say or what to do because this loss involves such intense emotions, and we're just unsure of ourselves.
Yeah, and so there's someone named Joanne Steen who is a Gold Star widow. Now, the Gold Star family is one that has experienced the loss of a loved one, an immediate family member who died as a result of active duty military service.
Okay.
So when you hear that term,
Gold Star,
yeah,
okay.
that's what that means. Well, she suggests that Americans should get out of the habit of wishing people a happy Memorial Day.
Oh,
And instead say, we will do our best to remember. So to a Gold Star family member, because for them, every day is Memorial Day,
of course.
right? So the void that is left after losing a loved one is just never really filled. The pain of losing a parent, a child, a spouse, a sibling, just never fully goes away. So letting people know that you remember helps. So her phrase is, we will do our best to remember.
That's great, because we don't often feel like our words are adequate, and oftentimes we'll say, thank you for your service. But in this case, it might be good to say, I'm sorry for your loss.
Right. And, even if a person didn't die in war, say something like, your son, and I would use their name if you know them because it's personal to
Right.
say your son John, let's just say that, volunteered to serve, protect and defend his country at a time when people are looking to do us great harm. So we truly appreciate the sacrifice.
Oh, that's good.
Because I think sometimes those people are overlooked. They're in the service of the military. And something has led to their death, but they signed up to protect our freedom.
Right. I think people might be afraid of their own grief emotions, and that's why we're kind of unsure how to handle our emotions and what to say to someone else, because maybe we're afraid we'll break down and cry emotions are tricky.
Yeah, and grief is not easy.
Right.
It's not easy to confront it. It's very intense when you have it. I mean, at the beginning part of it, you feel like you're never going to be okay. It's just so intense. You don't really need to know exactly how to handle all those emotions. Just be willing to comfort a person who is feeling those emotions. Maybe you ask, do you want me to stay or just be with you? Or I'm here to talk if you want to. So just be there. Match what you say to their response. I think
that's
the really...
So read them.
Right. And offer that. Grief just takes lots of shapes, and it's expressed in so many different ways. So allowing a person to grieve with you in their own way is the most important. Sometimes they won't want to talk. Other times they might just cry. Just go with the moment and listen. And don't bring your pain to theirs. So don't try to match it with something that happened with you. Just listen to theirs. Sometimes they just want you to give them a hug and say, I'm here. That's one of the best things a friend can actually do.
This is all really, really good. So I'm taking away that it's important to acknowledge the loss and to just be available.
Yeah, and no matter how long ago it was, we still like it. We still like to hear that. I mean, my brother died a long time ago, but it still is nice for people to remember him and to acknowledge that loss. We like to know that our loved ones have not been forgotten and that we can still talk about them. And days like Memorial Day really brings that all to remembrance. One of the worst things that you could ever say to a person is, can't you just get over it? It's been 20 years.
Wow.
Now, fortunately, I never had anybody say that to me.
Right.
But that's a terrible thing to
But
say.
people do say cruel things. How important is it for the person who's experienced the loss to share that with other people?
I It's just so important because grief has to be shared. This is not something you do in
On your own,
isolation.
yeah.
Healing often comes in telling the story. I mean, think about it. Jesus wept with his friend, Martha and Mary, over the loss of their brother. He was with them. He wept with them. Our brain is hardwired to be connected to each other in grief.
It seems to me that for some people, though, accepting support and help from others is difficult, but they really, truly need it, I'm thinking.
Well, you just don't want to isolate yourself. I mean, when you're by yourself, just think about it with any difficulty you've had and you just sit in your house and you're by yourself and you're not talking to people.
Gets worse.
It just gets worse.
Right.
So allow people to serve you also in time of need. I know that I'm a person who usually gives to others. I am a little bit uncomfortable receiving it. But when you're in a state where you're grieving, you need to let other people serve you during those times. And the people around you who experience loss should do things, could do things like, okay, so if you know somebody who's had loss, it really helps them to like clean their house, to run errands.
Practical.
Yeah, maybe take them to the cemetery if they want to go and, provide food because the grief can be so overwhelming. You're not thinking of, what you need to do or you're not thinking of taking care of yourself. You're just overwhelmed. So basically what I'm saying is to really help with the mundane things of life when people are in grief.
We so often hear that that's what people do for the first few days after a loss or after a gravesite service, and then they forget, and the people are left alone. So this is really what you're saying is a prescription that should be ongoing.
Yeah, keep checking in on them, keep doing things and seeing how they are because you don't want to just cut it off after
Because the pain doesn't cut off.
it doesn't cut off.
No, it goes on. We know that God knows the heartbreak experienced by loss. So let's remind ourselves of a few scriptures to help us work through loss.
This one is short. It's in Matthew. It's the one I talked about when Jesus was talking on the Sermon on the Mount. But he said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." I mean, it just normalizes grief. You're going to mourn.
Yeah.
And-
Not if, but
yeah,
when.
It's going to happen, but you will be comforted.
That's so good. And the one who comforts us is the Holy Spirit.
Right.
This one reminds us that God will comfort us in loss no matter what in 2 Corinthians. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. Okay. The Father of compassion and the Father of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles. All our troubles. So why? So that we can comfort others in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves received from God. That's such an ongoing and giving and receiving promise.
Yeah, and none of us who have experienced loss go, oh, great, I've got a loss, now I can help other people.
Right.
I mean, we don't think of it like that, but when you have gone through something like that, it really does, you really do have a different experience in helping someone who's gone through a loss as well.
I've heard you say things to people that were so kind and compassionate, and I know it comes from your own pain.
It comes from a place of loss,
Right.
yeah. A verse that really helped me was Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I think there's something about that. God's going to strengthen you through that process, even though it doesn't feel like it.
And biblically, we know time after time that his right hand is his power hand.
Yeah, and then just a couple of chapters later in Isaiah, it says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. It feels like they will at the time of grief and loss. But God says, no, it's not going to take you out.
Wow. Psalmist in chapter 46 reminds us that God is our refuge and our strength and ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, he is with us.
Yeah, so in closing all of this, just continue to pray and to comfort those who grieve on this weekend and all through the year. Don't forget about them.
Right.
Words are inadequate for us to express our gratitude to those who have bravely fought for our freedom. Norm, we just want to say a big thank you to all the soldiers who answered the call and to the families whose sacrifice was great. We really hope that during this long weekend of rest and relaxation, you take time to pause, consider the sacrifice of so many of our fallen, honor their service, and pray for the families who made the ultimate sacrifice. Well, that's all the time we have today. Many thanks to my co-host Norm Mintle, who makes the show a conversation, and to our technical producer Katie Sims Wilson, who married into a military family.
She's now a military family.
She's a military wife. And from all of us here at Faith Radio, we'll talk to you again next weekend. In the meantime, remember, we're doing life together, and it's better when you don't have to do it alone.
Doing life together.
Hey, thanks for listening to this conversation from the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. These conversations are available because of your support. Become a supporter now at myfaithradio.com. Please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes, and share it with friends so we can live life to the fullest, walk confidently, and find healing and hope.